broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Welcome in, AfterBuzzers, to the AfterBuzz TV After Show for Homeland, Season 5, Episode 4, Why Is This Night Different? I'm your lead host, Frank Maiorana. You guys can find me on social media at Let's Go Frank M. Thank you for listening in again this week. I'm joined, as always, by our remarkable swaying panel in tune right now. Julian Dujarric, where can the people find you on social media?
The people can find me all across the board on all social media at Julian Dujarric. Peace and love.
And Stephanie Garrett.
I am at Stephanie G3360 on Instagram and Twitter, and Stephanie Garrett 3360 on YouTube.
All right, guys, and we are back this week. Quinn and Carrie are reunited.
Yeah.
And it feels so good, which is the reason for our intro song today. But first, as always, we want to start our show out with our social media shout-outs. Guys, a lot of good fan interaction this week.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for writing in, commenting on our YouTube page, reviewing us on iTunes, and writing in on Twitter using the hashtag ABTVHomeland. As always, I like to start with Twitter. We had some really good comments this week. First of all, a little bit of praise for us. I like to, we thank you for the encouragement. This is Lois Elfman, at Lois Elfman, said the new hosts offer some sharp commentary. Please check them out. So hashtag ABT Homeland won't go away. Well, Lois, we appreciate that. We aren't going anywhere. We're going to be here all throughout the season. So thank you so much for saying that. So we love the show and love that you're watching in there. So
yeah.
Thank you for that. The next one that I wanted to get into more show content-wise is from Taylor Santi, which is at Taylor Santi. They said, Saul would never, ever sexually compromise a subordinate, let alone sleep with an employee. Something's not right. And, of course, Taylor's talking about Allison Carr and Saul's relationship right now. So... But they're sleeping together. And, obviously we saw at the end of the last episode, it seems like it's been going on for a while because they're past the point of the relationship where they have to sleep together every time that they see each other. It's kind of one of those moments where like, all right, we're going to take the evening off. So, I mean, we saw, and this springboards us into, discussion about Allison and Saul. They've taken their relationship to a new level. And talk about that, Stephanie, the relationship between Saul and Allison, this is breaking new ground for Saul, I think.
I think so, because that means he's kind of moved on from his wife. I think her name was Mira.
Right.
And I had actually had hope that they would stay together. I like them together, but Mira's gone, and, well, he's with Allison. But I'm wondering, is it for a reason? Or do they just like each other? I mean, I think they look nice together. They're age appropriate, which I happen to like. He's not chasing some 28-year-old girl around the office, you know what I'm saying? Right. So that's always nice to see age appropriate people, together and happy and everything. But I still don't know. The jury's out for me. What do you think?
I have no idea where to go with this. Like, I don't see, unless we're just talking about pure human instinct, sex ever coming into the equation with their relationship. That really threw me for a loop. I'll be completely honest with you.
And it threw Taylor for a loop too, which is from online. So
I don't know what to make of it. I don't. I can only say that as human beings, our actions aren't always rational.
Right.
Our instincts, sexual desires are one of those things, and oftentimes we don't. I won't speak for everybody, but oftentimes, certain people won't act in accordance to logic. They just do things. And so I don't know that there's necessarily a reason for why the relationship is so close.
Yeah.
But, I try not to wrap my mind around it too much, because then I get crazy. Because that was like the main shock factor last week, right?
Yeah. I mean, shippers are something, that we always want to keep track of, which relationship is coming up. So an interesting topic. So thank you, Taylor, for sending that in. Julian, I know you saw a bunch on YouTube that you wanted to talk about.
Yes, there are so many great comments on YouTube. Please continue to comment on every episode and giving us your thoughts and your predictions and all of that, because we love it. I have an interesting comment from Andrew, or please forgive me if I'm messing up your name, Orgilio. He says, I'm mad at Saul. A, for siding with Dardal at the finale of last season, and B, for being so stupid as to think Carrie would be involved with publishing leaked classified documents, and C, for being romantically involved with that other CIA woman who tried to backstab him. It just makes me sad. And then he goes on to say, isn't he married, and what is his, Saul, and Dardal's endgame?
Yeah, see, I agree with him, because I think we're seeing a brand new Saul this season, a Saul that is... He used to be a lot calmer and sort of subtle about the way that he approached things. He's a much harder edge character now. In his interactions with last week with Otto During, this week with Itai Luskin and General Yusuf, we're seeing a real development of the character, and it's a credit to Mandy Patinkin in the way that he plays Saul, is that we are seeing Saul just, he looks haggard almost, like it's, ever since he got kidnapped, I think, last season by Haqqani, it's changed who he is.
Yeah.
I think that, coupled with the fact that he has more responsibility now, he's leading an entire, not that he wasn't leading a team before, but the team is much bigger and has much more influence, and he is overseeing people who also have power, and not to the same degree that he does, but at that, with great power comes great responsibility. And I think he's feeling the pressures of the job, coupled with whatever sort of post-traumatic stress he may or may not be dealing with, because we know that CIA operators compartmentalize their emotions as a part of their job, so that could be possibly what he's doing. But I think it's more than just that. I think the pressures of the job are actually getting to him.
Finally.
What do you think, Stephanie?
I think the same thing. Also, I think when he was kidnapped, like you said, I think that changed him a little bit. So now he's just being a harder, tougher Saul.
He's just acting so much differently now.
Yeah.
He reveals information to Itai Luskin that ultimately we saw at the end of the episode with disastrous consequences. He's putting all his cards on the table and really not holding a lot back anymore. And I think he just used to be a little bit smarter, and I think he's letting his emotions get the best of him.
Right.
Sometimes. Yeah, because when you're in a relationship, and maybe Allison might have something to do with that.
She could.
Okay, well in that case, then I can see how really the root cause of it isn't necessarily the job. I think the job doesn't help. I think you have to be of a clear sort of objective mind to be able to carry out those duties and responsibilities. And I think based upon what he has been through, that could have compromised that ability. So
great point by who was it again? The hard name.
The hard name it's probably a very simple pronunciation, but I can't. Andrew Origlio.
Thank you, Andrew. Anything else that you saw that you really wanted to mention here?
There was another comment that was discussing about. We talked about in the last episode Carrie's reunited with the vodka bottle, and one of what FC, who's a commenter on YouTube, said, "Did you not pay attention to the many references to Carrie drinking tequila? She drank it with Brody in season 1. She drank it with Brody in season 2. She brought it in bulk in season 3 before she had sex with a guy who looked like Brody. She also likes her wine." So basically, just making a point that this is someone who loves her little pick me up juice, and we shouldn't be surprised. So I thought that was a really funny comment.
Maybe we were just hoping that it was a new Carrie and that she was going to finally turn a leaf. I think that's the biggest thing. It's not totally out of character based on what we've seen for these past 5 seasons, But I was really hoping that she had moved on to a new
and
place.
she broke her sobriety, and that was a little sad.
Yeah.
So.
He does commend her though. There was a very long comment, but the second part of that is tequila has always been her poison of choice, and she could drink most men under the table. So there was some compliment.
That's very true. I mean, you saw
That was
her
really funny. Oh my God.
polish off a bottle last episode.
She's drinking the hard stuff, the vodka.
Yeah.
Only because it was available, as someone on YouTube I think pointed out. That was the only thing that was available. So pretty much that was it.
Yeah, she doesn't discriminate.
Right.
But bringing it now to this episode, she is back on her meds, apparently. She's calmed down, and we meet up with Quinn and Carrie, and we start the episode off after the Seder scene. We'll go back to that and talk, but Carrie and Quinn are reunited, and after 2 years of separation, they see each other again. Obviously, at the end of last episode, we had Carrie shooting Quinn. And poor Quinn, he got shot this week too. He keeps getting shot. Poor guy. But they meet together, and we start to see this conspiracy become clear. Carrie is targeted by someone. We don't know who just yet until the end of this episode. And I really liked this whole plot line.
I did too.
Because it was very clear to me what was happening, and Quinn's direction to Carrie, first of all, was you need to go and hide. You need to walk away. So, Stephanie, as a mom, I keep coming back to you every week and say, as a mom,
I know, as a mom.
But you have to walk away from your daughter, pretend to be dead for the rest of your life. How would you react in that situation?
That's bananas. That's crazy. I probably would do the crazy things that she did. I'd try to figure it out because there's no way I'm going to do that. There's just no way. And I respect that she's going to go and try to figure it out. I mean, she has like a double bounty on her head. Almost. Maybe triple. I'm not sure at this point, but I'm thinking it's double because, the CIA wants to kill her and then the other folks want to kill her. So, yeah, she's got to figure some things out. And that's what I would do. I would just... and luckily Franny's in a safe place, so she's back on her meds, so she can kind of focus on what's going on. Now she has Quinn, so Quinn is there to help her, hopefully figure it out, so I think it's going to,
And Quinn made a good point, too. He said the only way for Franny to be totally safe is for Carrie to be dead.
Right.
And one of our listeners pointed out a couple weeks ago that Quinn's phone is kind of fuzzy. It's not an iPhone. It's one of those old school burner phones. So you can take a picture, and Quinn takes the blood, his own blood, and smears it on Carrie's face, and then takes a picture with that phone. So it looks like she's dead. But, at the same time, Carrie is still very much in danger. She cannot appear in public or even hint through a video that she is still out there, because then her enemies can get to her through her own daughter. Julian, what did you think of that?
I mean, it's a crazy place to be kind of put up between a rock and a hard place in that way. I also commend and respect her for not just kind of keeling over and accepting that as her truth. What do I think? It's such an unfortunate place to be. I will say, if there's anyone that can come out of this, not unscathed, but with minimal bruising, it's Carrie. She doesn't give up. Like she's just unrelenting with a never say die attitude. And honestly, it's her saving grace. It's what keeps her from. It's what protects her and frankly protects other people. Even when they don't know that it's for their own good.
Right.
That's right.
So I think it's unfortunate, but I'm eager to see how she gets through it, because she always gets through it.
That's true.
That's very true. She always gets through it, and even though she has to record a video message as if she's not, which for me in this episode was one of the most touching moments, when she had to record a video saying that she loved her daughter, and her chin is just going nuts and she's crying. That really touched me.
And I was thinking that's an Emmy award-winning clip right there.
We've had several of those in just these last this season alone. Claire Danes, please come on the show, because we need to we need to pick your brain. She to me is in this role. This is like a I don't want to say career making role, but career defining for sure.
That's right.
But speaking specifically about that scene, you can tell that Carrie was having real trouble compartmentalizing that part of her plan, right? I'm gonna make this video. I'm gonna be authentic and present and I guess authentic is the best word, when delivering the message to my daughter. And you can see that she was struggling with it. She even said, I can't remember what she corrected herself on. She said, I'm trying, and said, I'm trying to do everything that I can to get to you. And she corrected herself and said, I tried. And even that for Carrie was, I feel like, a big struggle, because she's not someone who stops trying.
Right. That's it.
So to say, I tried, to use that verb in the past tense for her, you can just tell was eating away at her.
Yeah, I can see that.
And it was kudos to Claire Danes on that.
I mean, big time kudos to her, because you could see her thinking during the scene, and it reminded me of Carrie's relationship with her own mother, who abandoned her.
Perfect example.
And Carrie and Claire Danes must have been thinking about that while she's performing in the scene, because it popped into my mind. And the actor is so powerful and has that ability to have these sort of guilty emotions that are coming in because her own mom left her, and now I'm leaving my own daughter as well. All of that came flooding to me as a viewer and remembering things from a season ago, but it's playing into her decision making right now. And so part of that is she's doing what her mom did. She's leaving her daughter.
Right.
Now, you could compare honorable, notions between the two, but I do think that that's playing heavily on Carrie. And like you said, Julian, that's a great point. She never stops trying, and I think that's going to be a great day when she gets reunited with Carrie, if that day ever comes.
And I was noticing Quinn was looking totally away when she was doing that, because she said, well, how did you walk away from your own kid? And he goes, well, not everybody's meant to be a parent. And when she was doing her scene there, he was just totally looking away, and he just didn't want any part of that.
And I still don't think, forgive me, this is just my opinion, I still don't think Carrie is fit to be a parent. I think she has the best intentions. Obviously, she's motivated by her child, by her daughter. But I don't think she holds that in as high regard, in as high a priority, her child, in as high of a priority as her job. I just don't.
How else could she have handled this, though, to best protect her daughter? Because other than sending her away and figuring this out, if someone wants to kill her, then they're going to get to her whether she's in Lebanon or Berlin or back in the United States.
Right.
What's been made clear about this whole series is that you are never safe. And if someone wants to kill you and they have a global network to get to you, then you are not going to be safe. Terrorists in previous seasons came to America and blew up the CIA building, and they can find whoever they want to find, using even government connections sometimes. So my question to you, getting back to that, is a very long opening to the question, but how else could she have handled it in a more appropriate way as a mom?
Oh, I mean, I'm not a parent, so I guess that's probably...
I guess just as a viewer, how would you sympathize with her more if she had taken what route?
I like to talk a lot of crap and not back it up with facts. That's just what I do. I don't know. I feel like she had an opportunity to... She, for all intents and purposes, at the beginning of this season, had an opportunity to choose a different life. And she chose to get back in. There are capable people who are just as smart, if not smarter than you, because they have more information than you do. You don't necessarily have to be the savior of the world, Carrie. This is my opinion. I don't know.
I only ask you because I thought it was really interesting the way you said it and wanted to get your few. I'm not trying to...
It's a great question to ask because I'm sure there are a lot of people... That's fine. I mean, I'm on the spot. It's a great question to ask because you're right. What's the alternative?
What's the best way to handle it? Go ahead.
I don't think there is one in her particular situation. Now, had she done this at the beginning where before Otto left, she could have just said, I'm not going.
I think that's what I was alluding to. Maybe, I couldn't exactly put it down.
But what changed is that she knew that someone was trying to kill her. Actually, I take it back. I'm sorry. She found out later in the hotel room. Later. So you're right. She didn't know at that moment, so she could have got on the plane and gone back.
Well, Laura Sutton has a little bit to do with part of that. with the documents.
Well, yeah.
So
yeah,
that's
she
a whole
kind of
nother-
like brought her in a little bit.
She
too.
brought her in too. So there's, like you said, the double bounty. We said the double bounty. So
Yeah, that's true. All right, well, let's talk about that. Let's
Yeah.
move
Yeah.
on to that storyline. We have Laura Sutton trying to reach out to Newman, and she ultimately does. She goes to a hacker named Sabine, trying to reach out to her contact, whose tagline name, her username is douchebag spelled backwards.
Gabe Kut.
How do you say it?
Gabe Kut.
Gabe H. Cook.
Gabe.
I'm not gonna even say it.
So eventually she reaches out to him through this hacker, and they find that the hacker's notified that the flash drive was erased beforehand, with disastrous results for Korchnoi. He goes and meets with Russian officials, and he lies.
Ugh.
He lied to them about having a copy. And Newman warned him, get out of the car. You're making a huge mistake. He bit off a little more than he can chew there.
Yeah, he did.
So when that scene happened, I knew something bad was happening. You got this smiling Russian minister or intelligence official. Come on in, man. I'm Ivan. Nice to meet you. Sit down. I knew something bad was going to happen.
You mentioned when they took the shot.
Yeah.
That was the shot of death, or the kiss of death, something like that.
Yes.
Which I agree 100%. As soon as you take a shot, because what are you prepping him for?
Right.
Why do you need alcohol in your system? What is about to happen that I need to drink to prepare for it?
Here's to business. I thought, while we were watching
funny.
it, I thought that was a poison shot.
Yeah, you said that. Yeah.
But obviously it didn't matter because they literally beat him.
Yeah.
And they didn't need that.
They needed the information, so they wouldn't have killed him right away, I don't think. But I agreed with you 100%. I'm like, well, there's something happening in the next 3 minutes.
Yeah, you could just feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It wasn't going to be clean. Oh, here's my flash drive. Oh, great. Here's your money. Have a nice day.
Right.
no,
Good
no,
day.
That's the end of that.
Give the driver, take him back to where he came from.
What I love so much about this show, of the many things that I love about this show, is the little mini monologues that happen before something crazy occurs. The Russian guys. Ivan, thank you. That Russian dude. Ivan's little monologue when he was talking about cynicism versus being trustful.
Yes.
God, it's just such it messes with your mind so much. I can only imagine what the hacker was feeling. Like, I can't believe this is about to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know it's happening, and I can't believe it's going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
You could just feel that.
It's delicious dialogue.
it really
right
is.
Before the guillotine drops upon him.
That's what makes it so interesting.
Very few shows are able to execute that well. Sometimes it comes off as cheesy or trying too hard. Like, I love, and I'm a music guy, so I music placement for me in shows like this is very important. It only began. The music started to cut in only after the hacker realized what he was in on. And I just thought that was just beautiful. It was a great way to illustrate and to indicate to the audience that something's about to happen.
Something bad was happening.
Yeah.
Korchnoi bit off more than he could chew, and I think he just wanted to get paid. Because the glee on his face after he got the money, we all kind of laughed watching it. Like, I'd be excited too. Yeah, here's all my money. This is perfect. And then you're right. Then the music slowly builds up, and something's not quite right here. And unfortunately, both for Korchnoi and his girlfriend, it resulted in their lives being lost. So it's a bummer. If you play this game, you got to have some backup, and we see what happens when novices try to get involved.
Right.
So moving on to Saul's interaction with Itai Luskin, we talked briefly about this. To open the episode, they are at a Seder dinner. And Itai says, let us remember that we are having a Seder in Germany where a tyrant, but 70 years ago, was keeping us all as slaves and wearing yellow stars. And then he moves to Saul, and they have a conversation about regime change in Syria, which is a big story in our news today. We have Russia assisting the Assad regime in killing rebels and ISIS fighters, and there's controversy from the American side because our American government is saying that the Russians are and their teams are also attacking rebels who are supported by the West. So this is ripped right out of the headlines again. So for me, it brings up a question for the show: is what happens if regime change actually happen in Syria. It hasn't so far. Assad is still in power. So if something were to really happen, it would be interesting to see how this show handles it. Because in the show and in the plot line, we have General Yusuf being courted, and part of me was just like, oh, stay out of it, you know? Gosh, why do we have to, get involved in the middle of that? What do you guys think while that was going on?
Well, go ahead.
As far as General Yusuf is concerned, I think he has great points when he was discussing how difficult it would be to not only overthrow Assad, but then assemble yourself as the new leader.
Right.
Given the fact that most of the people in power in Assad's regime are his family members.
Right.
I thought the same thing. Like, it's none of your business. Like, dude, you don't have to get involved in every single aspect of what everyone else around the world is doing.
Right.
Not all the time. I mean, sometimes it's much more valuable to kind of step back and see how things play out. And obviously that's not necessarily the foreign policy of the United States as it stands right now. It's a big part of it. But as far as the show's concerned, I just thought the same thing. Like, you don't really have business being involved. I don't know. I would have liked to see some more restraint.
Yeah, I was going to say, and when I think Saul was telling General Yusuf that, hey, we're going to get rid of Assad and basically put you in power, he didn't seem very excited about that.
No, because he knows what that means.
Because he knows at some point, when you cut the head off a snake, another head grows.
Yeah.
So you get rid of one, it's going to just keep on going. And he just didn't seem like he was that interested in that.
And it plays to, and again, I'm just talking about the U.S., the Homeland's U.S. foreign policy, not the actual United States.
Not getting political.
Yeah, we're not getting political.
No,
we're just strictly talking about Homeland. It plays to the ignorance of the United States as far as their foreign policy is concerned. How can you not take into consideration all of the branches of this tree that represents this idea of peace and democracy, and still go forth with it as if it's a good idea? And I think General Yusuf brought up those points, and I agree with him. I don't know how you can do that.
He had a line that I really liked, which was my favorite of the episode, which was, "You really think these murderers want peace?"
Right.
Why?
Because Saul is saying, "You're our best solution for peace in Syria." And he looks at him and goes, "You really think these murderers want peace? You really think that putting me in is going to change the situation and make things peaceful and perfect?" It's just not. He has a very real understanding of what's happening on the ground there, and I like that. There are those in the Middle East who do not want peace, who want war and strife to continue because they profit from it. So in this scenario, it's very easy to have a conversation in a garden about, all right, we'll take care of Assad, and then it's on you, my man. You take care of that, and we'll have free elections, and this, that, and the other. But the execution of it is a very big task, and I think General Yusuf was feeling the gravity of it.
Right.
Yeah, and I just don't think Saul understands that. I think he is so singular in his focus right now, and everything is sort of all logic and understanding, or even just dissenting opinion that may not be the right opinion, or not necessarily the most logical opinion, is falling to the periphery, and that's a dangerous place to be when you have that much power. I'm talking about Saul.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
It's interesting to see how this is going to go, but I did love how they staged the whole hospital as
I like that too,
as a medical center for the general's daughter to have an organ transplant. But Allison Carr walks in and says, "Yep, everybody here is CIA."
Yep.
With her nice little
for the
accent.
surgery team.
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you, but she had a really nice German accent.
That's
correct.
right, yes.
Very spot on. But you noticed General Yusuf called her out just a little bit. He says, "Oh, you're not from Switzerland." No, and she says, "No, I'm from Berlin."
Yeah.
So he kind of called her out a little bit on it. And I thought, somebody's going to notice, and he did. So.
Yeah, and he did, and nothing escapes him. But this contrasts the way that the CIA approaches something with what the scene just before with Kosnick going and meeting with the Russians.
Yeah.
Here's a completely prepared organization looking to make a play with powers of Syria, and this complete novice idiot who walks in unprepared to dealing with the Russian government. So I like the juxtaposition of the two approaches between the two.
I did too.
Yeah.
Really interesting. So I wanted to move on to Quinn's. Quinn and Carrie. We didn't finish their storyline here for the episode, and brings us a little bit of action when Quinn and Carrie are working together to try and figure out who it is that is trying to kill Carrie. Now we find out at the end of the episode that Quinn is actually also on that target list. And something started to feel off with the beginning of the scene, and I like the way that the director of this episode paced it, because when you saw Quinn go in and put his phone in, you saw it on a security camera, the front desk clerk sent a text, and then it felt like something was wrong. So Quinn obviously gets shot in the middle of the street, and now we know that they're both targets, that they're both liabilities.
Right.
And then the phone call, just to summarize the whole plot here, near the end, phone call that Carrie makes. Carrie goes and grabs the assassin's phone, takes a picture of him, and calls the only number in the phone, which belongs to Allison Carr.
Allison Carr.
So Allison is behind this. Do you think she's the mastermind or just a part of the plan?
I think she is the mastermind. Okay. Like Carrie made a good point. She says she asked Quinn if he actually saw Saul do the drop. Quinn says no. I don't. It's his operation. Yeah. Well, we figure out eventually that it's Allison. So Saul probably has no idea that this is going on.
Yeah,
that's just my take on it.
Okay.
So
my question is, how does she know that Saul has this operation? Like that, how can she infiltrate it? Like where did she get in?
Right.
Who, Allison?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, she's sleeping with the man.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Well, yeah, of course. So what was said during Pillow Talk that allowed her to infiltrate that operation? I'm very curious because I didn't see an in for her. That really threw me for a loop when she picked up the phone. Like how it makes sense, but I don't know how she did it.
Yeah, I think we're getting to the point where this may be a surprise to Saul, and that he's going to find out that she got in somehow, and there's going to be a big blow up between the two.
Oh, yeah, I think so too. Because she still thinks that Carrie is involved with Laura Sutton getting those documents out.
Right.
So I think that's what that whole thing is about. And she goes, well, how do you know Carrie didn't do that? She said that in the last episode, I believe. So that's the whole point.
I think you're exactly right. I think that was the event that set all of this plan into motion when Allison thought that Carrie was the one who's passing the documents.
Right. Yeah.
But I also want to point out that there was a great point that Carrie made, which is that whoever sent Quinn does not know about Carrie and Quinn's relationship. Saul couldn't have done it because he knows that they, had a relationship. So, Carrie knows that it isn't Saul. And that was a bit of a relief and a really smart thought on her behalf. She goes to Quinn like, no, whoever thought that you would kill me was just wrong. It could not have been Saul. That's a man that I trust more than my life.
Yeah.
And
she did point out, she says, well, he is mad at me, but I don't think he'd kill me.
Yeah.
Which I agreed with her on that. Like
exactly.
he probably hates her, wants to, yell at her or something, but I don't think he wants her dead.
No, I didn't think that he wanted her dead. Even last episode, there's too much built up between the two, mentor and mentee, and even when you struggle in a relationship, I don't think ultimately he wants to assassinate her.
Yeah.
And then have Quinn taken care of afterward.
Right.
I think it's either Allison acting alone or Allison acting on Dardal's direction.
Oh.
On Dardal's direction.
Direction.
Yeah.
All right, because Quinn and Dardal have a weird relationship.
Quinn?
I know
not
that.
Quinn. Sorry.
Allison and Dardal?
Allison and Dardal have a weird relationship. Excuse me.
Well, Allison made the play to try and oust Saul last episode and called Dardal directly. But it didn't come to pass.
Yeah.
It didn't work out. Dar called Saul right away. So there are people playing each other, and we don't know exactly who's playing who just yet.
Well,
but go ahead.
I was going to say, Quinn said it had to come from a high-level official in the CIA. So does Allison have that kind of clout where she can put in a kill for somebody?
I don't think so.
I was gonna I was wondering that.
I don't think so.
She's the station chief in
Right.
Berlin, and when Carrie was the station chief in Pakistan, she was known as the drone queen.
That's true.
That came up last
Yeah.
episode, and I know someone commented on YouTube that the reason why Jonas walked away from her when she was having her episode was that he found out that she's killed hundreds of people, and she was known as the drone queen. So that continues to be difficult, and now she's just completely absent from Jonas's life. So
Yeah.
I felt for Jonas in this episode. You never want to leave it on bad terms with someone, and they had a really good relationship,
Yeah.
and now they're completely gone. She dropped out on him.
Yeah, and well, I think one of the reasons also he walked out in that particular scene was to go find his son. Remember, his son
Right.
was kidnapped or whatever, and he walked out on her as well. So I think there was two reasons why he walked out.
Right.
But yeah, I feel for him, but I think he's going to do whatever he can, to help her. I believe that. So that's he's kind of struggling though.
Yeah, I think his intentions are to help. I think he's torn
Yeah.
because he's now become involved in a way that he hasn't wanted to be. He's
Right,
involved.
exactly.
His child is involved now. And,
Right.
that ultimately, as a parent, I mean, you could speak to this more than anyone on this panel. That holds the highest priority and the highest regard. So. Doesn't matter how deeply you are in love with Carrie, your child is a product of you, and you will do everything possible to protect that.
And I was going to say,
that child.
and she brought the war to their doorstep.
Yeah,
essentially.
that wasn't sought out by them.
No, she brought
Yeah.
that in with her, and I think that for him that may end up being a very big problem.
That's a great point. Well, let's move into our predictions for the end of the episode here.
I don't know if I have any.
We got
I
some
have
good
a few. Wait,
predictions here.
you guys talk. I might have a few.
Before we get into predictions, though, I want to remind all of you that please like us on YouTube, subscribe to us through iTunes, and also put in a review on us there if you like us. If not, send us in your comments. Let us know how we can make it better for you guys. We're also found on Stitcher and any other app where you can find us. So,
what is Stitcher?
Stitcher's it's a podcast app. It's
Okay.
another way to listen to things.
I saw you writing it on the board. I'm like, what is Stitcher?
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
And I thought like I was hip to like all the social stuff. I'm like, no, what is that? What is this another one I have to be on now?
It's like SoundCloud.
Okay.
It's kind of
Oh,
like that.
I've
Yeah.
heard of
So
Okay.
go download Stitcher and subscribe to our podcast.
You're
app.
so much cooler than me, Frank.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to say it out loud, but now that you said it, no, I'm teasing. So, guys, your predictions for this episode,
Yeah.
or for the future, I should say.
I don't know.
I don't know if I don't have a solid prediction. What I do have is a lot of questions.
Yes.
I want to know.
That's it.
Questions.
Yeah.
We're going to read in this second.
I would like to know. I really would like to know who wants Quinn and Carrie dead. Why Quinn? Why is it that they had the foresight to know clearly that Quinn wouldn't kill Carrie, or did they not have that foresight and they just thought, let me tie up loose ends because he also knows a little bit about what's happening. He obviously just gets a name and he goes, but we don't want anyone. We don't want that to be a liability. Whoever we is that's masterminding this.
Right.
I want to know who that person is, or who those groups of who that group of people are.
Well, let me put your feet to the fire here,
Yeah.
and
Because I don't
nail
think
you
it's just
down.
Allison.
Who do you think it is? If you're just wild guessing, I know
I
you don't know right
don't
now,
know.
but I want to put you on the record so we
Okay.
can come back to this.
You know, I don't know, man. I've never been speechless about a prediction before, just because it didn't surprise me when I saw that Allison was involved in that way.
Right.
It just seems much more complex than just how how do I explain this? I feel like there needs to be more players in order to carry out what Allison, who so far is the only person that we know is involved in infiltrating Saul's operation. There needs to be more players in order for that to come into fruition. So I just want to know who those players are, because I can't put it really can be anyone. It really can. If we're doing a far-fetched prediction, it can be Saul.
It could be.
It could be Saul.
It could be.
I don't think it is, only because of the relationship that Saul has with Carrie, and whatever sneaking suspicions that he had, I think were sort of dissipated in their last meeting, as contentious as it was. it could be Saul. I wouldn't be I would be a little shocked, but I don't know who else it could be, because who else knows about it? Who else? Yeah. Who else has the information necessary aside from Dardal, I guess, right? Dardal would be the only person.
That's my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
I think so. I think that's a solid prediction.
My opinion and prediction is that Dardal and Allison are in on this.
Okay. So
that's
they'll be tag team.
Yeah, then that seems plausible to me.
It does.
Plausible. Yeah.
I can't think of anything else. Who else knows?
I can't either. I mean,
what do you think, Frank?
I agree with Stephanie. I think it's Dardal and Allison working on this together.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And Saul's going to find out that this was happening. I don't think he knows about it right now.
Yeah.
Somehow Allison and Saul worked it out, or Allison and Dardal worked it out to get those names in the box. And then they had a German assassin. Don't forget that. So it wasn't an American assassin.
That's true.
The text that went through was in German.
That's right.
So that's an interesting facet of this, too. Last week we saw Quinn and Astrid meet up in a club, and that was a really great scene, by the way. You could feel the attraction happening between the two. So there could be a connection through the German government to get one of their operatives to come and take care of Quinn to avoid further detection from the American side.
That's true, yeah, because somebody wants to cover their tracks.
Someone wants to cover their tracks. They don't want Carrie or Quinn or whoever is close to them to know that it was an American that did it, because in this case it went wrong. The assassin got killed and Quinn survived, and now we don't know, who is in charge, if they're going to be happy about that or not.
Yeah.
So we'll find out.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to mention, and what my prediction has to deal with, is that General Yusuf's plane blew up.
Yes.
Right. We didn't even mention that.
I was going to mention that.
So I do want to talk about that briefly. My prediction is going to be that the Israeli government arranged to have that plane blown up.
I was just going to say that.
I was thinking that too. I was thinking that as well. Yes,
because they have the most to gain from him not being available to ascend to power.
That's right.
It was contentious between Saul and Itai at their dinner. You used to be Itai said, "You used to be a better friend to Israel."
Yeah.
That was a really good scene between two powerful men keeping their emotions in check.
Yeah.
And under this veneer of happiness and a Seder, you have these very serious political discussions that had life or death ramifications for General Yusuf. Clearly, Itai did not like the idea that they were going ahead with that plan, and their plane blew up. So I think relations are about to get really bad between the two.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, how does that affect their relationship now?
Yeah.
So, because if this prediction is true, if this is what happened, if Israel was in charge of that, of the general's plane exploding, then they knew that the American government was going to continue on with the plan, even though Saul assured him that they weren't in the business of doing that anymore.
Remember, they were having a hypothetical conversation.
Right.
Hypothetical,
right?
I mean...
Which was real, obviously, between the two, and both the guys knew it when they were having that conversation. But to be honest, when the plane blew up, I was kind of happy about it. I was... Well, not that the family died.
No, I know. But as far as plot is concerned,
as far as plot is concerned, I'm very pro-Israel. So I believe that they need to protect themselves, and they're in a region of the world that is completely surrounded by enemies. So Itai's smart, and he found out information from Saul that Saul gave up. They're obviously longtime friends, but Itai saw something that was dangerous to his people. And I think he was behind having that plane blown up.
And did you see Allison's face at the end when she's like, oh, crap.
How am I going to explain this?
Like, what the?
Little minx got herself in
you
trouble.
wrote minx on the board. She's a minx.
Treacherous little minx. That girl.
She's good, though. She's very good. She's good at hiding a lot of stuff, too. But hiding it, but yet putting it out. Showing her claws in a way. She
has a talent at deception.
That's it.
I would say.
Yes.
To expand on your point. Any final thoughts, guys, before we close it out here tonight?
Great episode.
Yeah,
Great episode. So many plot branches that have grown now that we have that are going to keep us hooked.
Yes. And they're coming closer together.
Yeah.
The documents which caused this whole action between what we think is causing this interaction between Carrie and the CIA chief in Berlin it's all starting to mold together. We've got 7 episodes left to see what happens.
It'll be fun. I like it.
It's very exciting. Thank you all so much for listening in again this week. As always, I was joined by Julian Dujarric. Where can the people find you on social media?
The people can find me all across the board on social media at Julian Dujarric.
And Stephanie Garrett.
I am at Stephanie G3360 on Instagram and Twitter, and Stephanie Garrett 3360 on YouTube.
Cool. And I am Frank Maiorana. You can find me on Twitter at Let's Go Frank M. Thank you all so much for listening in again. We appreciate you all for listening in each and every week. Come on back next week. Have a blessed week, and we'll see you back soon.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.